That it does. And Polaris, they go with the Storm. So I'm going for a stable mid coming out here for... Who is it? Lelouch, right. It's Lelouch on mid. It's Mac Lelouch v Britannia himself pulling out the Storm Spirit. So we'll see what kind of chess moves Lelouch has here, what kind of control he'll have. Of course, not much hold from YG. RP Boundless is there, but nothing instantaneous. Even the X is something a Storm might be able to dodge out. So there's a lot of ways for Lelouch to still dance in and out. As he does zip around the Storm. That does kind of play with the global presence you have with the NP, plays with the vision the Beastmaster provides well. You can kind of jump out, catch someone off guard with Hawks. In fact, the Beastmaster just kind of counteracts a Monkey King nicely, right? You can watch the tree line, always see where he's tree dancing around, cut him down with your wild axis if he's not going to react fast enough, and line yourself up a nice Monkey King pickoff quite easily.
I mean, you've got so many ways of dealing with this Monkey King. Like Static Remnant from Storm Spirit gives flying vision. Obviously, zip through the tree line. You've got the Sprout to give flying vision as well from Nature's Prophet. There's just so many ways to scout out where this Monkey King's gone in this game number 1. That being said, we don't exactly know if it's a position 1 MK yet. I think we're just assuming it's going to be, because POS 1 MK is pretty damn strong. But it could still be a support as well for YG. Considering how many counters there are for this Monkey King right now, it might be a wise decision to transition it into a support pickup and maybe choose something else in the position 1. We'll see what YG want to get done. I mean, you could even try to run the POS 1 Magnus that we do see sometimes, and I don't think that would be too bad either. Just depends on what KSH or how he wants to play. Wonder if he wants that pronounced as every single letter, by the way. He's only wrote KSH, so I don't know if he wants Kish. I don't know if he wants KSH. We should have asked John. Considering how many name changes there have been in this matchup, we probably should have confirmed with them before we went on to the draft screen, but we didn't.
I tried to. I at least tried to clarify who it was. And then all of a sudden, YG was just reacting to Lelouch. You know, they were just like, "Hey, Lelouch!" It's like, "Lelouch, haha, what the hell?" You know, and it just got drowned out after. So we'll find out in the second game, I suppose. KSH, maybe Kish, but that, you know, Kish kind of mixes it up with Krish.
Yeah,
who's also another player. So
that's
you
what
know,
I'm saying.
it's very similar. Yeah, it's a bit confusing there.
Yeah. Shout out to Krish, by the way, great mid laner. Love to see him on a team next season in the DPC. Thought he did a fantastic job with that temporary team he had with Ponlo. We'll see if he does show his face in the next DPC though. I believe he did say he was a free agent, so there's that. There's YG. Final pickup now. You know, I'm still wondering whether they want to run this POS 1 Monkey King. It does feel like a very difficult style of game here for a POS 1 MK. I mean, he might just kind of ignore all the ways that they can cut down the tree lines and just still go with it, just rely on how powerful the hero is at the moment. It does seem like Polaris assume that there is a support pickup coming here for YG. Would love to see a 5th core for YG if we could, though. You know, keep it within tradition for the region.
What would be left if you do go for a core support kind of thing? I mean, if you just go for a different POS 1, you could still go Jug. Jug Magnus still works. Beastmaster kind of ruins your spell immunity, but still pretty good to have that Slash and Empower. They go to Grimstroke instead, so not going for a core. They have like 4 pseudo cores and a Grimstroke. They don't stick to tradition, but the combination's strong. You've got double Magic Missile, double X can be nice. Not the biggest, you know, it's not like double Laguna, double Finger, or Hex. Still a good amount of control. You've also got the Inkswell on your Monkey King now. And that should cement our Monkey King as the POS 1 for KSH. So how taking the Monkey King once more. I believe this is something that YG used to their victory, their one victory yesterday in their series. So kind of ties them in well. Polaris do go into the Ursa. So it looks like we will have the Savius, Nature's Prophet, Boomy on that hero. We've seen him do that a couple of times now. And just has a lot of presence. I think with Savius on NP, what he does look for is that early mid rotation. So he's not afraid to teleport in and try to look for that kill. The Kunkka is a tougher target though. Even with Lelouch and his Storm, you're not going to be able to maybe burst down Kunkka unless he overplays. So that is something to consider for the NP's position here. But otherwise, really interesting drafts from both sides. Very different from the first set of drafts we saw today, Mike. I would say that it's a bit tough. I think Polaris has some earlier timings to hit. Like they have insane push with the NP Beast, even though the NP is on support. you've got this really early timing to hit, and the hold from YG to keep Lelouch down is not the most amazing. You could maybe get a good Blink RP. That's probably your best bet to instantly lock in the Storm.
Yep.
Beyond that, X, Boundless is kind of telegraphed. Magic Missile is definitely telegraphed. So if you don't get that RP off, it might be a bit hard to keep Lelouch locked in.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't help but notice, John, you were trying to hold back some laughter every time you say that name. Is this going to be a problem for you, Jonathan? Can you be professional in this game, or are you going to giggle like a little schoolgirl every single time you say Lelouch?
I'll try. I can't. Every time you say it, you get the moment where he activates his geese, right? Like every time you say his name,
Don't spoil the
geese
anime,
comes
John.
out.
Just because you've watched it for once, you've watched an anime that other people may have watched. Don't spoil it for the viewers, John. Maybe they're going to be intrigued by the name, and maybe they'll go watch it.
True.
I believe it is
You
on
should watch
Netflix, so if you wanted to go watch it, or you could just, download it like we used to back in the... I mean, I'm sure they still do. Piracy never really stops. That the old ads they used to have on, they weren't very good, John. You remember the ad I'm talking about? Every cinema used to play it. You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a phone. Where I grew up, John, all those things used to get stolen, so it didn't work very well for me and my peers, let me tell you.
Yeah, nowadays you wouldn't right-click an NFT, Mike, eh? So, it's shifted. You wouldn't right-click an NFT.
Don't upset the NFT crowd, John. Don't do it.
It's a nice meme, though. Love that meme. Still, no one's over it. Kish is still going like, nice name. How about Force? And How is just praising himself. Me too. Nice name. Yeah.
Oh, it was all a bait, though. They were just trying to Sweden Force as they now skewer him back. That's what we think of your name, Force. Right down for him. First blood the way of young PH on the mid-Kunkka. And I assume that Polaris' mid lane going to be very annoyed now that he has a disparity in net worth. So Lelouch, I mean, he gets compliment on his name, John, but now he's going to be behind young PH in gold, and that's not going to be very fun.
No, and it's already a bit of a slow restart for the Storm, right? We've seen this time and time and again. You don't rely on mana to get your harassment off. You've got Tidebringers free. Lelouch, even though he's ranged, he's got Static Remnant to also spam out. That does cost mana. So there's a limit to how much the Storm can clear out. Just having this early start should set young PH quite nicely here.
Yeah. Well, stick around for this boundary rune here, YG. Be a bit of a counter from Mavis. Should be able to pick it up though. Lun does throw out the stun, but it doesn't really amount to too much. So a 2-for-2 trade. Very nice even start, apart from that first blood occurring. And while we're here, we may as well start with the mid lane. Young PH, again, going to have a bit of a net worth advantage against our Storm being played by Lelouch. Do you give the advantage to one or the other, ignoring the first blood and just thinking about the hero matchups here, John?
I'd still give it towards the Kunkka here. I think, again, if you play with Tidebringer, you've got great wave clear. You can just walk away from the Static Remnant. Maybe by level 3, Lelouch can make plays. Have the Vortex up, going for that 1-1-1 build and overwhelm the Kunkka, but he's really tanky. He's a strength hero. He has a lot more HP compared to most of the usual mid matchups for a Storm, so it's not going to be that easy to zone out young PH, and I think that's something Lelouch will have to watch out for. Water rune's going to be important. Bottles for both sides going to be extra important, so you want the supports to be able to at least secure your own rune, maybe cancel off the other opposing mid's rune as well, to give yourself a better time that lane.
Of course, top lane. Natsumi on that POS 1 Ursa going to be against the POS 3 Venge. You do have Mavis around on the line, and well, there's a bit of a creep pull happening here from Skill Lay on the mag, so it does seem like he wants to hit at least his level 2 timing before he does really join the lane. That being said, though, there's not too much a Magnus can do in this laning stage against an Ursa Lion. So I think it's a pretty tough POS 4 mag game, as bot lane Xavier's is going to end up dropping to KSH. The Force unable to help him out.
And it's one of those things when you have this summon-heavy lineup and you're playing against Grimstroke, the Stroke of Fate is going to do a ton of damage. Very easy to slowly chip away at these heroes, and KSH doesn't even need that early Jingu to clean up Xavius. So you're going to have to micro really well here on the side of Polaris. The lane already shaping up nicely for KSH. He's getting everything he wants. He's got the early Blightstone to dish even more damage out as well. And the boards just aren't zoning him out well. I think Zalrain has done a great job of just standing back, getting the Stroke of Fate, clearing out the summons, and making it easier for Kish to kind of manage here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't forget these summons. At the very least, the balls from the Beastmaster, they give a lot of XP away. A ridiculous amount of XP, in fact. So you really don't want to let those die if you can avoid it here from Force. And of course, the Treants, not so much, but at the same time, again, you'd rather not feed more golden XP if you can avoid it to the Monkey King. It's KSH, he might just kind of get out of control here if he does get such a great start. And in fact, Inkswell out on a creep is still going to land onto the Prophet. Rain, he's doing a really fantastic job of just holding them back. They are still farming creep waves, but KSH, he's having a very free safe lane.
And you'd expect to have more pressure when you're playing against Monkey King, when you're playing against Beastmaster, when you're playing against NP. You know, you want those trees, you want the boars to keep hitting on that pause. One, they're not able to do so in Polaris. They're just respecting the Grimstroke's presence, and that will lead to a good time for the Monkey. Up top, the Lun.
Being chased down, Natsumi won't go all the way. You've always got that skewer back potential into the tier 1 tower, so there is that little bit of insurance there for YG in this off lane. But I talked about KSH having a free time, John. Natsumi, he's having an even better time. 16 and 4. This pause 4 Magnus can really do absolutely nothing to help slow down Natsumi unless he overextends. And of course, then you have the skewer back potential. But until that point, they are kind of just screwed here in this off lane of YG.
Yeah, they can't do much. I don't think it's more on Magnus. It's more that Venge is also a really weak laner, at least by herself. Like, you can set up for a magic missile skewer, that's it. And even then, again, as you said, Mike, they have to be out of position for that to work. You can't really stop an Ursa. Like, you can maybe spam out the Wave of Terror, try to get a couple of right clicks. Ursa's still really tanky. You don't really have the most minus armor stacking here for YG to get that done. And Natsumi's just able to get all the CS in the world. The right-click harass from Venge doesn't do much. Mavis just cuts off the Magnus quite well. Magnus is kind of similar to the Earthshaker, where laning it just doesn't do it. You know, it's almost like a do-nothing hero. You just sit back, soak from your off lane, and try to reach the point where you hit Blink, you hit level 6. You feel a lot better then, but it's just really greedy.
Xavius, bot lane, Jingu Mastery going to be procced, KSH. He was being slowed down by the balls, but it didn't really matter. In fact, KSH will go ahead and take those now for himself as Force. He is still trying to go after Rain. In the end, now has to run. In fact, he's been slowed up quite a bit as the Stroke of Fate is going to land again. KSH, he may go all the way for this, and I think they've got it. Force, he's got no way out, surely. One more hit will do it here, but no, stick charges are in. KSH, Boundless Strike in 3. He is low on mana, but it won't matter. He'll just get the right clicks off. And even top lane, more rotations coming in as Young PH, he's feeling it now. They'll go into Natsumi, but the X did not end up landing. Instead, they might be able to try and secure the life onto Mavis. Torrent, though, isn't going to land either, but Skill A, he's got the body blocks. And eventually, they will be able to get the X off into the boat. Mavis will be some nice easy kills here for the mid-Kunkka. And it's already a 5-0 here, John, for YG.
Yeah, they're just working that laning aggression really well, winning out in basically almost every lane. Maybe the top lane was a bit slower. The rotation from Young PH does save that. And they are starting to hit that momentum spike. I think for Polaris, it just comes down to matchups. Like Lelouch, he's still finding CS in mid. You know, he's getting some farm up, but the Storm will need more items relative to Kunkka. Kunkka at 6 can just come in, has a lot of control, lots of damage to really contribute to the team fights.
Yeah, but once he's gone, Natsumi just jumps right in with Mavis, and they do get Lun. It's one of those things. You can rotate the mid-Kunkka as much as you want, but as soon as he's gone, they're going to be able to trade back, and unless you find Natsumi, it's probably not worth the time of Young PH to make the rotation up. Natsumi able to get something for his trouble. In the meantime, everyone else just securing their own farm. You look at that net worth graph though, and it is going to be Young PH and of course KSH at the top of the net worth board. So things still going very well here for YG. I suppose Polaris just going to kind of bide their time and let Natsumi farm as Mavis again was caught, but a nice Earth Spike. Going to land on 2, and now Natsumi. He'll rotate over on the Ursa. Again onto Lun. A TP in from Xavius. Lun, he'll throw the magic missile out, but they have the Sprout there and the body blocks from the Treants. And that'll be a nice kill fed over to Natsumi. They just continue to make Lun's life very difficult in the offlane.
It's just the nature of the offlane Venge. Without an aggressive 4, you can't really do too much. Natsumi now at level 6 is just getting way too much from lane. And Polaris are just working off that. It's the one lane they're winning out on hard. They need to kind of snowball on that Ursa. I think the key timings for Polaris aren't on the Ursa though. It's mainly on the Nature's Prophet and the Beastmaster to get that early push going. So you actually want Force. You want Nico to hit that Dominator timing, maybe hit the Overlord timing as well. Look for the push in the bot tier 1. Rotate onto mid, force that tower down as well, shrink the map of YG to prevent the Monkey King, the Magnus, and the Kunkka from kind of building up and hitting their own item spikes.
Rotation though now from Lelouch as he does make the jump in onto Z-Rain, and Inkswell actually going to land on 2. He'll turn with a stroke of fate, and now a 3-man balance out, and the boat's here. Lelouch, he needs to get out, but he can knock it out in time as Xavius. He will be the secondary pickup for young PH, and they might even have Force. Nice tree cut. Will at least slow down this pickoff, but young PH still wants to keep going, and they have the Primal Spring in. KSH, no, it'll be young PH with a triple kill on the mid-Kunkka. Sure, you found a Grimstroke, but that is a heavy, heavy cost to play for Polaris.
Yeah, it's an expensive trade for Polaris to get out. Losing Lelouch is big. You're slowing down your Storm's timing into the Orchid. You're feeling pressured to make these plays. It takes a lot of commitment to just kill the Pause 5. And YG are just doing fine. You know, their Monkey King finds himself alive. They're working out well. Young PH is on an overwhelmingly strong start. He might even find his Orchid first, as he is going for almost a mirror build-up compared to Lelouch, and he is way ahead in that score. 5.2k on the Kunkka, 3.7 on our Storm. Ways to go there for Polaris. And the key thing is to get this push strat going. They need that Dominator up on Force. They need levels up on Xavius to get the Treants up and running to really pressure lane. They'll try again. Smoke out on Lelouch and Xavius. They could try to play bot once more.
They may. Rotation over. Young PH. He doesn't have a TP for another 15, so this would be great timing here for Polaris. TP away though, KSH is out of there, so they're only left with the support mag. Skill A, I mean he should drop, but he's going to skewer away. Zip forward will be out from Lelouch. He will try, Skill A going to try for the TP away, but the Earth Spike is out. So they at least get something for their time, but Lelouch, he definitely wants a pos 1 kill. He's just unable to find it.
Yeah, they're just not finding the key pickoffs they want. I think most of their kills have been on the supports, a couple of kills coming out onto Lun on the Venge, but the Venge is also a slower hero, doesn't really need too much to get running. So even if you are stalling the Venge, the issues are in the snowball first. The Monkey, the Kunkka are still getting more. They are able to get that tier 1 push down bot, which is what this lineup wants. They've got the Dominator up in Force, tier 1 tower melts, but YG are up top already looking for the trade, and they will find it. No defense from Polaris. So the map control stays even so far with the tier 1 trades. We're still going to have good spots for both cores to farm. Natsumi, he does have a couple of stacks to go for. Should clear it out before the jungle just gets invaded by YG. And not going to be contested yet, but Lun is on the lookout. And they do at least have skill lay around. He's still got RP ready to go. No blink. But they've got the control if they do find themselves in a pinch here in YG.
Yeah, absolutely. And Natsumi does need to try and get that farm up ASAP as they are behind. In fact, KSH now going to spot out the Ursa. Now, this is the kill you really want. Natsumi. See if he can get a swap stun before they do get the ulti off. Natsumi, no, he gets the Enrage. RP is there, but it won't matter. Enrage is still going. So they waste quite a bit, but they will not be able to find the pickoff. In the meantime, bot lane, they are at least going to find Force. They don't find the Ursa, but they do get an off-lane Beastmaster. Still not too bad here for YG. Polaris, I mean, they are still yet to kind of find their footing in this game, number 1. I suppose on the brighter side, the net worth gap isn't too big right now. Natsumi is still freely farming up. In fact, he's going for an early Roshan play here on the Ursa.
They've got the damage output with the Treants coming through from Xavius as well, but KSH can spot it out. They know it's not the safest play. They do know the Monkey King was searching. They did have that. They did kind of see him jump in, but not going to be able to finish it. So they're denying off that still. Still late.
Zip over. Lelouch, he does have the Orchid. TP attempted again, but they'll have the damage. Natsumi able to get it done. It's a 4v5 now, so you might be able to go back for the Roshan, but look at this smoke here from YG. They're ready. Baiting in with that haste rune. Mavis, he'll go take the bait, but he'll get caught out immediately with his own Orchid. And now the Lion, still alive, but not for long. The Inkswell, it'll get it done as a swap. Lund, he'll save the life of young PH. Still, they will continue chasing on to the Venge. There is no boat available, not quite yet anyway, but Lund, somehow still alive, but is eventually going to drop. As YG, they'll keep trying for a bit more. Young PH, he wants to keep going. In fact, they got the Orchid off onto Natsumi. Boat will land it to boot, and they will have the damage. More X's out. Force now being caught on the Beastmaster. Wukong's command will be there. Very nice position there from KSH. They do have the pig stick, though. Inkswell, however, at least going to catch Savius out, but they're diving tier 1 towers. They've got to be careful, or maybe not. Polaris, oh, that's a great boundless strike. KSH, he found 2. Lelouch has to get the hell out. Xavius, he'll be X right back from young PH. They might even find Mavius a second time. Xavius still trying to crawl his way away. KSH, he won't keep diving into the tier 2 tower, but they do successfully stop the Roshan attempt. Polaris, it is starting to feel like they need that Roshan to at least have a semi-advantage against YG, because the way these fights are going, it's just not even close.
It's really not. The teamfight control of YG is a lot stronger. For Polaris, they are hanging on to single target control with Aurora, with Orchid, and their only AoE control is really coming through from their line. It's all down to Earth Spike from Mavis, and so far YG has not been clumping up hard enough to get the big control off. So YG has the control advantage, and they haven't even had to deal with RP. Skillay didn't have it in the last few engagements. He's still saving up for his blink, so there's still more team fight that will come through from YG down the line. I think for Polaris, it's difficult for them to get the immediate kill. I think they're going to have to go for a burst play with a finger, because if they don't, the swap is always there to save, and Lund doesn't mind throwing his life away for another core.
Oh, Force, not again. He's just farming under vision right now. Torrent's going to miss, but they got the X with the Orchid and the boat out, and they will be able to catch him, no problems here. Force just not having a good time whatsoever on this Beastmaster. And this semi-push lineup, it's just not panning out. You kind of just go back to Natsumi and hope that the Ursa can outscale the side of YG later on, but he is still against the Monkey King, don't forget, so it's not going to be that easy.
It's definitely not. I think more importantly for Polaris, they're still finding some timings in Force, but now the burden kind of shifts towards Lelouch, right? He's going to need to be able to zip in, protect himself. He's actually having to go back for a Eul's now on the Storm, just to ensure that if the X comes out, if the Orchid comes out, he's got a way to save himself and kind of get out dodge. It's not something you typically see in Storms. You see it when you're kind of behind, so it's a bit concerning for Lelouch, but that will give him more tools. Polaris will smoke up. They've still got Natsumi around. They might try for the Roche again, but I think it's ideal if they look for a pick-off first.
Polaris, smoke in. Lund is going to be scattered out. That'll be a nice pick-off to start. And immediately Natsumi, again, right into the Roshan pit. 4v5, we'll take the Roshan, but it's going to be noticed. He knows he can't take this for free. They are going to have to try and fight. Because Roshan is not being very nice whatsoever to this Ursa. That'll be it. He'll leave it be, force a couple of rotations around the pit. That's really going to be all there is to it. He knows he can't take it fast enough to really consider it. Unless you get 2 or 3 heroes on YG, and maybe with that disadvantage, then you could try to force it properly.
Yeah, it'll just take a lot of commitment from Polaris, whereas normally with an Ursa draft, you don't want to be committed in Roche, right? You want to be able to just sneak it in with one hero playing elsewhere on the map. Still, YG, good smoke out here.
Natsumi, boundless, oh, it's just off the mark. KSH, would have loved to set up with that boundless, but it's felt like a millimeter off there against Natsumi. YG, it does feel like they're even thinking about going for Roshan. I mean, they do have some decent minus armor with the Wave of Terror from Lund. I think the damage output is there for KSH as well, so they understand if they can somehow secure the Roshan on their side of things, it's just even more detrimental to Polaris. It doesn't seem like they're 100% confident quite yet to try, as now Z Rain top lane. Can he get out in time? Mavis? No, he's unable to get in range for the Earth Spike. He is fine.
Man, I like the bravery from YG, right? Like, we've seen them do that a couple of times. I'm sure for skill 8 didn't pay off. For Zalrain, it does pay off, so he gets to brag about it, TPing in her face. The lack of control from Polaris outside of committing ults and Lion is a bit of a worrying factor. That does mean that Mavis is going to need this blink up to really help the team out here.
Yeah, Force going to drop at that bot lane as it's another nice pick off onto the Beastmaster, who was split pushing it out. Skill lane, Mavis, he's going to zip from the backside. Lelouch is there, they'll try on the vent. In fact, never mind, they'll go on the mag. Lun is still alive, he'll try with the swap and Magic Missile out. They'll at least get Saviors. So it is going to be a pos 4 for a pos 4. Young PH, he wants more. In the meantime, Natsumi, he's in the Roshan pit. He got bashed by Roshan. Oh, he got bashed as KSH. He just jumped in and Roshan gave him the gift that he wanted. The bash on the hitters. Now they go right back into the Roshan, and it's not going to be the fastest process, but they can certainly get it done now.
Yeah, they've got the damage. It would be a lot faster if skill A was around with the Empower, but they'll still get the job done. Polaris not going to find the angle there. Maybe Xavius could go in for a bit of a sneaky steal, does not have the teleport up. So first rush actually going to YG, setting back Polaris once more. You mentioned it earlier, Mike. You know, the push doesn't line up, the Roche for the Ursa doesn't line up, their draft isn't hitting its beats as it should be, and YG is starting to take control. They've got the Blink coming out on skill A, so Blink RP is here now. Eventually the Ags on Lun is going to be up as well. It's still about 1,800 gold away, but once the Ags is up, Lun's just going to be throwing his body forward, get the stuns, get the swaps, die, swap again, stun again, and I don't think Polaris can match that kind of control. And all of their control is riding on Roar, on the Orchid use of Lelouch, and on Mavis with a Blink. And that's it. I think it's a lot easier for YG to still take control in these big engagements, and Polaris will kind of have to adapt to more of a hit-and-run strat. You know, look for pickoffs, get the Roar, pin someone down, clean them up fast, and try to split push off of that.
Well, at least for now, they are split pushing, John. I mean, Force, he's been down that bot lane a hell of a lot. He is constantly forcing a rotation back from KSH and Young PH. Try and protect that tier 2. There'll be a jump in with the Yule Scepter. Lelouch trying to set up Young PH. He's got the BKB, and they will commit the Roar to make sure they are able to get themselves out. He was not able to defend the tier 2 in the end. On the brighter side for YG, they do get the top tier 2 tower, so it is going to be a bit of an even trade between the two teams. I suppose YG feel like they are ahead in this game, number one, so they don't want to really go for these even trades, but well, sometimes it happens and you've just got to accept it.
Yep, you don't lose any heroes at the least here for both sides, so you'll take the tower control if you want. This is a bit more disadvantageous for Polaris. As, again, with pushing lineup, you want to deny more of the map. They haven't really done that. Mid-tier 1 stands, despite that bot tier 2 falling, so there's still areas of the jungle that YG can dip into. They still have access points from mid, whereas for Polaris, they're completely locked out from their top. They lose a tier 2 top, they've still got mid tier 2, but they don't have a way of playing in that jungle area without exposing themselves to YG's control. So limited areas for Polaris to farm, and you have some pretty farm heavy heroes. Beastmaster still trying to ride into that Overlord timing. Not too far off for Force, 500 gold away. Once you hit that Ancient Creep in your lineup, maybe it starts to feel better. Maybe you can get the Thunderhide to kind of buff up your Ursa, get more forward presence, or just the Dragon to clear out waves, and play from there. Still, YG, smoked up again, and they've got that Blink and Skill A with the RP ready to go here.
Blink up. Scary times for Polaris. Xavius, he might be around to break the smoke, but he's going to run right into Young PH. X is there. It's not the worst kill for Polaris. You'd rather lose your Prophet than your Beastmaster right now, especially as he has approached the Helm of the Dominator timing, even though it is very late. Better late than never. With that kill, though, they are going to be able to get the bot tier 1. And honestly, I think YG can keep going for a tier 2. I mean, they've got on Aegis for another minute 45. I don't think there's a reason for them to back off.
Yeah, they've got nothing to be worried about. They've got a lot of room on KSH to just get this push going. They're still pressuring mid as well, cutting off the creep wave. So someone's always got to respond to the wave, ensure that it's not going to be shoved in too hard. And that does set up for YG to maybe look for 2 pushes. Fortify is forced out. And it's stalling out the push a bit, and they will just respond to the top tier 1 push. Not much commitment coming through from Polaris. So that will cut off some sort of team fight. No Kunkka, no boat, no torrent around him, as he did not X himself back. If Polaris knows that, they could kind of just jump in now and get some punishment off.
Oh, they got a double damage on young PH, John. With the Empower buff, it's those Tidebringers are going to hurt. This would be a perfect time for YG. But it does seem like Polaris, they understand the Aegis is going to expire within a minute. They'll get the top tier 1 in the meantime.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
KSH back to work on that bottom tier 2 tower. We'll be able to pick that off. YG, they're not going to force high ground. Even with all the bonuses they have right now, it doesn't feel like they're 100% confident. But they do spot Lelouch in the mid lane. They might be able to chase him down and catch him, but no, it looks like he's just fine. In fact, he's rotating up top to try and pick off this Monkey King. KSH might be the perfect bait, but Lelouch not going to take it either. Not 100% confident he can get the job done on his own. To be fair to him, I don't think he would have been able to do it either.
It's a tough target to pin down. The Orchid might be able to give you enough, but there's that BKB riding on KSH, so you've got to stun him down first. They do manage to hold out long enough in Polaris to get the Aegis expiring. So no Aegis. It's a bit tougher for KSH to be just up front, put his body forward, get the control. But they've gotten enough on the map. You know, bot lane's completely empty, top lane's completely empty of towers. Only the mid tier 2 stands from Polaris. And this is the lineup that was supposed to push early, Mike. With the NP, with a Beastmaster, there's still a mid tier 1. They will eventually find it with the Treants. Lund trying to cut off, not quite able to clear out the Treants in time. But that's a 24-minute tier 1 falling on mid.
Mavis dies at the top. Meanwhile, Lelouch trying to get Lund, but he can't get it done. Not even the offlane bench to drop here to the mid storm. You see Zorain, he just continues to keep the bot lane pushed out. Even with force around, just constantly stroke of fading the creep wave. YG continues to be unable to find anyone to pick off that's really of relevance. The supports are nice, but you want to find Natsumi on the Ursa, you want to find Lelouch on the Storm. You know, they might have a... Oh, they spotted him, Natsumi. He'd get spotted by that wave of terror, but they aren't going to make the jump past the tier 2. They are still not confident enough. I thought maybe they'd try for a Blink Skewer back but with Skill A, but they won't even try that.
Just playing a bit safe here on YG. I think the ideal way to initiate now is actually with Lund. He's got the Ags up on the Venge, so he can just go for the swap play, die in the middle, still get another stun, another swap off. This is the power spike for the Venge. You don't really need much else on top of this. All the utilities now there for our offlaner. And for Polaris, they're still severely lagging behind in farm. 5k lead for YG, a good 4k each that Natsumi and Lelouch are lagging behind in. The only thing equalizing them is kind of their offlane performance. That's why it's only 5k. But when your Storm is 4k behind a Kunkka, when your Ursa's 5k behind Monkey King, it's really difficult to kind of equalize that disadvantage because there's so many items that are very impactful for YG. For YG's part, I don't think you want to give this much space out to Polaris. Like, they are working the side lanes well. They're split pushing really nicely with Xavius and with Force. The Treants, the Beast Summons are doing good work to keep the lanes in their favor. And that is forcing YG to constantly come back and equalize the lanes here.
Yeah, just playing that split push game. In tier 2 now, being pressured a tiny bit. Natsumi, he's going to rush right in. Onto Lund he goes. They've got him. The Venge going to drop it an RP out. Skill A, he's got 3 targets. But where's your backup? Where's the damage? YG, they've backed off at the wrong time. They're going to lose a couple for their trouble. In fact, make that a third Lund. He'll lose his remnant, but young PH, he's finally shown up. Force, not going to be X-Back yet, but eventually will have to come back. Still a bit of a positive trade, I think, for Polaris. And in the meantime, they did manage to pick off that top tier 2 tower with Xavius. So they are still winning little engagements across the map with this passive play from YG. And mind you, I think it's still very hard for YG to force a fight, but you kind of need to at this point.
I'm surprised that they didn't have the Monkey King around at least for that RP. It just felt like you had to have one core sticking with your supports, sticking with your off lane to make that work on mid. And KSH was just way too far behind, probably just farming the jungle. So missed the opportunity for YG. Good opening from Polaris to kind of rip this game up, as they will go for their smoke now. And they've got certain items up. BKB's going to be off cooldown for Natsumi. Lelouch can get complete control now with the Orchid and Zip forward. You've got the full Kaya Sanch, who's a bit more durable up front as well with a stat resist. That can make it a bit tough for YG to get him pinned down. No RP. That's their best hold for the Storm. And
They'll get Lun again. That's easy pick off as Lun. He'll always take the dangerous route to try to keep everything pushed down. He is going to land a magic missile, but the rest of his team not quite close enough to actually follow up. So Polaris, they're doing the right thing. They're finding these solo pickoffs, punishing this Venge for being in that mid lane out of position. Now, even if she has the Remnant with the Axe, it still doesn't feel good to give more gold back the way of the Dire. And as long as you're not losing any high ground objectives, or that mid-tier 2, you're not really losing out on anything here for Polaris. I mean, you can let YG farm as long as they want. It won't matter, because it's their game to lose.
yeah, it definitely is. And I think Polaris are just, again, getting the split push out really well with Nature's Prophet and Beastmaster. The side lanes are always shoved in. Like, you're at the point where Young PH has to cut the creep wave to ensure that there's no pressure on the lane, but bot lane's always shoved in. Someone has to TP back. I think even travels might have to be considered here by Young PH or someone else, just to ensure that they're always going to be on hand to deal with the split push. Still, Roche number 2 is up. YG's got control of the area. There is a ward watching, though, inside of Polaris, and I believe that he did spot out the Roche. They've got ample enough time to respond, but Roshan is melting rather fast with all the damage here on YG's end.
I think Lelouch is the only person that can really go in. Scan is there now, so they're 100% sure it is being committed to. The ball will give a bit of vision. It's too late, though. KSH, pick up the chance, please. There we go. He'll take it in the end. Zilrain will take that one from Sol for the Ink Swirl bonuses. YG. Another big advantage, but can they get something out of this Roshan? The last time around, they got a few towers, but nothing too valuable. You definitely want to see some high ground attempts here as KSH. He's been caught out. Where's the rest of the team? They split up. They were trying to deal with the bot lane. Swamp is there from Lun. But KSH has already lost the Aegis. And this split push game with this Nature's Prophet and this Beastmaster is making it so YG have to split up so often that they continue to get picked off one by Lelouch. It's the master plan, John. The name's working out.
It definitely is working out for Polaris so far. They are still at the deficit. It's still 20-11. 7k lead remains for YG, but they're still finding room on the map. And YG, they have to play as a team. They have to have the follow-up for the RP, have the boat on hand, have the torrent in hand, have the Wukongs fly out, and just try to play from there. They've been so successful beforehand, but just a bit too split up, focusing on the side lanes, trying to stop that split push.
Oh, Young PH is desperately trying to at least get Mavis. In fact, never mind that, they got Force in the dire triangle. Mavis will drop to Young PH. But you just see how fast it happens. Just one thing to not go back too early. But every time they go as a group, the other lane's just being forced out again. Like Lelouch, he's at the top lane. He's going to make the jump in. Young PH though. Oh, that's a lot of damage. My goodness. X, Torrent? No. He didn't have the X. He only had the Torrent out, so Lelouch is going to be just fine. But you saw Young PH, he basically just crit him for 1k with that Tidebringer.
He's doing a lot of damage now with a Silver Edge up. The output of the Kunkka is hitting its peak. I think at some point you will want to focus back on control. The Hex is coming through for Young PH next. Would love to see the Ags on top of that along with the Shard. Does just completely buy out the Hex. So it's going to be easier to lock in that Storm. We've got a solid way of keeping him down. You are still seeing the insane split push coming through from Polaris. So this is Natsumi being a bit forward, but they do have protection with this nice cliff ward. So they might be able to train here.
They are going to try. KSH is going to jump out of the tree line in time. Enrage is there, but they've got skill lay around. He'll be spotted. Finger out. Nice swap out. Now the RP. It's going to be committed, but you've still got KSH struggling to try and survive. He'll get the BKB off, and with the Boundless Strike, he is going to be able to heal up. Back in on Natsumi. They'll get the Ursa down. It's just proven to be so hard to fight 5v5 when there's an RP on the other team, they'll find Xavius to boot. There's still more to get. Zelush, he has been left on very low HP, but they are not going to scout out the tree line. He is fine.
He's got the TP back up, so Lelouch will be able to get away. He is sacrificing his allies like pawns right now, Mike, but that is keeping in team. Still, Polaris need a lot more to get running. I think they had the right mindset. Hit and run is the way to go. They cannot afford to take these bigger engagements. There is still too much control, too much damage on YG's side with the network lead they have. I mean, look at how much farm Young PH and KSH had. 21k each hero. That's 2 heroes, 21k. Polaris, their next heroes are at 15k, so there's still a 6k gap between all the top cores on each team. And that just provides much more presence for YG. Still, there's a power spike waiting for the side of Polaris. Lelouch, he was queuing up the Ags a while ago. He's going for the defensive Lincolns next. So at least protected from the X or from the Hex. Likely the Hex is what he's going for that. I feel like he's going to need Ags though. Like if you do get Ags on Storm, that gives you your own AoE control to kind of clump them up, lock them down for a long time, and try to get the damage off with your Ursa, follow up the stun with your Lion, and kind of equalize the engagements for Polaris there.
Still a very slow kind of mid to late game right now between these two teams. The split push just continues. Lelouch is avoiding Lun at the moment. I suppose it's very hard for YG to really pressure when they've lost that free Aegis they had. Polaris just continue to buy more time for Natsumi to be able to just farm up that Basher. And that'll be around the time where he could confidently start joining these team fights, but it's just so far behind in net worth at the moment. But even with that, you just can't be 100% sure you can win a team fight. But you can split push indefinitely with Nature's Prophet and Beastmaster. That's exactly what they'll keep doing. Just look at that bottom top lane. You just can't. It's only Force doing this at the moment as well. Just dominated creep at the top, himself and some balls at the bottom. And yeah, you might feed over the creep eventually, but you've already done the job that you needed to do. In fact, Xavius is now on the Radiant base. Yeah, this is getting rather extreme now, John, as he's going for the T3 tower, it seems. What's the plan? What's Xavius doing?
They've got a lot of creeps. Double wave coming in from Polaris, so maybe just looking to push that in, drop the treants, TP out, and get some good chip damage, force a rotation back from the side of YG. Kind of, again, splitting them up to make an opportunity on the map to catch people out and play from there. Creep wave is going to be shoved in soon. That's triple range creep. Lots of good damage to deal onto the tier 3.
Yep, immediately out with the treants as soon as the creeps get within range to stop the backdoor protection. You see Zorain, he has to react, but that is probably a tier 3 gone. So he cannot really do much about those graded treants. They are still trying to hunt somebody on the other side as Polaris. Force, he is going to be caught out. Skill lane, no need to RP. Or maybe there is, but Magic Missile is going to come in. RP going to be puff faked. Force is going to keep trying to run. Oh, maybe they played around with their food a bit too much. But no, you've got to balance up in a set. Okay?
Oh.
They miss quite a lot, but they'll get the kill in the end.
Yeah, they hold on to RP, so that still works out. Being down a tier 3 is scary though. That means someone's always got to watch that bot lane. Look at Xavius again, cutting out the creep wave, getting the treants down, and always forcing a response. I think, again, YG is going to need something up. They do have the... Lelouch.
Inside the Vice was there from our Kunkka, but he had no X back on the Storm. And that meant the boat fleet did not connect. So I'm not sure if you call that a misplay from Young PH, because I believe he was holding the X in case he went for a TP on the Storm, but it does feel like the Scythe device is not enough to guarantee the boats to land. And now bot lane Skill Lay really playing with fire here between Mavis and Natsumi. But he is going to have KSH coming in. Polaris. Natsumi's going to try to run, but he's going to be forced to enrage early, and even BKB up, but KSH does have the slows up. RP is there from Skill Lane. They've got the big target they wanted, and they'll finally get Natsumi. But can they push the side lanes enough that they can go after that last T2 tower on high ground?
I think this might be enough. I mean, killing off an Ursa doesn't stop the split push. I think you're gonna have to kill the NP, kill the Beastmaster instead to really stop the pressure. At the very least, you've got Boots of Travels up on young PH, so you can respond a lot quicker to any sort of split pushing. They did actually ping out Savius.
Yep, they might have him this time. Skill late, he'll skewer in. Young PH gonna make sure there's no chance of survival. And without that buyback on Natsumi, this should at least be a lane of Raps. Mind you, it is only KSH going after that tier 3 tower right now. So it is taking a bit more time than you would like to see, but it won't matter too much. He'll at least get a tier 3 out of this. Eventually.
Back door. They cut the creep wave.
Yep, yeah they did.
Again.
Never mind, they are not getting a tier 3 tower. So young PH, he's gonna find force. You at least get a Beastmaster kill as young PH is now 10-0-10. Still completely deathless.
Lelouch.
Oh, they have found Lelouch without mana. He's gone. That pesky Storm is down for 90 seconds. And John Roshan just spawned up.
It's perfect time. But I think for YG, don't go for Roche. You have to take high ground while the split pushing heroes are dead. Like, the Storm's not going to cup your creep wave. The Beastmaster's not going to let loose an ancient creep on lane. Just take the racks, pull back, and go for the Roshan. Heck, they're gunning for tier 4s. They want to end it.
Screw it. I mean, 66 seconds without a Storm. We're calling right now. I mean, don't forget the Beastmaster's already gone as well for 25. And I think they're just tired of this game. They've completely played Polaris throughout the whole game, but the split pushing just constantly delaying and buying more time. And they don't want any more of it, but the jump is in. Natsumi, who'll be forced to try and get a fight going. Soulbind is there, and they just ignore them. They do not care. The GG's been called. Polaris, they did a great job of, I think, delaying the game by roughly 20 minutes. It's been at least 15 now. But YG, they do eventually take game number 1.
Yeah, spectacular way of playing from YG. Good holdout from Polaris. Not enough to kind of reel it back. They did have a great idea running the Nature's Prophet 4 with a Beastmaster offlane here from Polaris, but they couldn't handle the early pressure. There was way too much team fight coming out from YG. They had a lot of great AoE control. Sure, they were finding some kills early on from Polaris. That was mainly Lun. It's Avenge. Eventually, it still finds Ags, and once you have Ags, you start to get rolling. For YG, just well executed. They had a perfect game on 2 players, Mike. Young PH and KSH both went 10-0-10 and 14-0-7 respectively. No deaths on the Kunkka Monkey. Just a clean performance from YG, and we'll have to see if they can maintain. Polaris gonna need to pull out all the stops. You know, they had the name changes. They need to show us that the name changes give them power, because if they don't find that second game for themselves, they will be out of the BTS Pro Series 9 here.
Absolutely. And it was quite a one-sided affair for game 1. Apart from the split pushing, YG were just all over them. We are going to head to a game, or rather a break. And right after that 10-minute break, we're going to be back with game 2 between YG and Polaris. We'll see you soon.